conversation with Niki Renslow, Senior Program Director, proud parent Janelle opens up about her extraordinary path to motherhood, a journey marked by resilience, faith, and love. She shares how her first daughter was conceived through IVF after years of fertility challenges and the gratitude she felt when her dream of becoming a mother finally came true. When Janelle and her husband hoped to expand their family, new heartbreak led them to explore surrogacy. She reflects on the emotional toll of infertility, the courage to let go of control, and the beauty of trusting another woman to carry their child. Today, with the arrival of their sweet miracle baby a year ago, Janelle's story reminds us that the journey to parenthood may not be easy, but it is always worth it.
Hi, everyone. My name is Niki Renslow. I'm the Senior Program Director here at Family Source Consultants, and today we are meeting with Janelle, one of our proud parents, who's going to discuss her story via surrogacy. Thank you for joining me today, Janelle. How are you?
Hi, Nikki. I'm good. How are you?
I am fantastic. Thank you so much. I know that you had your little one born via surrogacy last year as an addition to your family. So, do you mind just kind of introducing yourself and telling us a little bit about your IVF journey?
Sure. My name is Janelle Whitty, and my husband and I got married back in 2012, and we were both still residents. So we know we wanted to have babies, but we weren't rushing for it because we're like, let's finish residency since we were both so busy. And so we started trying, but nothing would come of it. So we're like, okay, no big deal. And then in 2015, I was like, well, this is weird. I don't know why it's still not working. So we started meeting with like different doctors. He saw a urologist, I saw another doctor, and they're like, oh, well, there seems to be issues. Maybe he can get some stuff addressed and then, it'll help out. So he got his things addressed, but still nothing happened. So in 2016, I met with a reproductive doctor down here in Miami. And he's like, oh no, I mean, your reproductive age is like of a 40-year-old. Your AMH is super low.
Oh,
I mean,
no.
there's not even a chance for us to do IUI. You have to go to IVF. And I was just like, well, okay.
That was
It's
a
okay.
surprise.
Right, a little shock to the system because you hear
Yeah.
about like Clomid or you hear about IUI, and
Mhm.
they're like, don't even bother. It's not going to happen for you to just go directly to IVF. So I said, okay. And, I still remember clear as day the day I got the box of the medications delivered and I just broke down crying.
Oh,
Not for anything, but it's not where you thought you would be. And I was so grateful that at least I could do it. But it was like, man, like, I can't believe I have to do this. So I did it. And we opted not to do the biopsy the first time. He didn't even tell me about it. So we did
okay.
a transfer, and the pregnancy marker came back positive, and I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe it. But it ended up being something called a blighted ovum,
Oh,
or it never really develops into anything. It's just secreting the HCG. So he's like, there's really nothing we can do. You have to get a DNC. And I'm like, okay. And at that time, my husband wasn't here. He was traveling for work.
mhm.
So I remember my mom had to take me for the DNC. And I was like, just heartbroken because I'm like, okay, well, this is not how I wanted to start it. And so then he's like, well, let's try again. So we tried again. Because I had gotten a couple embryos, he's like, why don't we test them, before we, implant them just to make sure they're okay. And I'm
Okay.
like, okay. So he tested and they were fine. They were like grade A. And so we did another transfer. I didn't even get pregnant. I was never even like positive pregnancy. Didn't understand why. And then the third time was in May of, I think, 2017. I did it again, my third transfer. I had to do another IVF to get more embryos. He did it. We tested them. He goes, they're great. I know it's going to work. We implanted it May 4th. I remember because it was like, this whole Star Wars thing. We made a joke of
Oh,
it.
yeah. May the
Yeah.
force be with you. Okay.
May the 4th be with you. That's why I
Yeah.
remember. And again, I didn't get pregnant.
Oh,
So I was just like, I just didn't understand why. And I was really upset. And he's like, well, we can keep trying. And I think I did it one more time with him, or that was the second time, and I did it one more time with him in
mhm.
August of that year. And I had a really good friend in Chicago who was going through kind of the same thing I was. She had had
Okay.
3 failed transfers, and this was her fourth, and she had gotten a new doctor in Chicago. So we
Okay.
kind of had the transfers like within days of each other, and we would keep calling each other. She's like, "Oh, I don't feel pregnant," and I'm like, "Oh, I don't either." And then mine came back first, and I wasn't pregnant again.
Oh.
And it was like around Labor Day weekend that we found out, because our anniversary is on Labor Day. September 1st is when we got married.
Oh.
So, I was really upset. We decided to do like a little trip to get my mind off of it. And my friend ended up testing positive for pregnancy. And I
Oh.
was so happy for her. But, even though you're happy for someone, it's really hard to be. It sounds weird, but like truly happy, because
Like
like you're
completely
going
in
through,
the moment.
yeah, because you're
Mhm.
going through so much emotion, and you're just like, why am I never going to have a family? Am I never going to be able to have kids? And, at that time, surrogacy wasn't even a thought. Like, I'm just like, that's not what I want.
Mhm.
So she goes, why don't you meet up with my doctor? Just do like a Zoom with him or whatever. So I called him, and we did a Zoom because he's in Chicago. I'm in Miami. I sent him the records. He's like, no, no, we'll get it done. We'll get it done. Come up here. So I went for a medical evaluation. He's like, we're going to try something different. We'll do a scratch this time. And the scratch is a biopsy of the endometrial lining to see when I should start the progesterone, to see when
Mhm.
my uterus would be accepting more towards it. So we did a mock cycle for the scratch in December. And then, I did he had done the IVF. I got the embryos. He tested them. They were fine. I think I got like 3 embryos.
Did you
And
ship embryos from Miami or did you create more
no,
embryos there? So
I
you
had to
created
go.
more embryos
So
in
that was
Chicago.
like my third IVF. That was my third retrieval
Wow.
to Chicago, because I had
Okay.
two in Miami already and one in Chicago. So then he had the embryos. We tested them; they were fine. And I went back at the end of January for a transfer, January of 2018. And I waited there a couple of days because I was scared to fly home, and then I flew home. And during that period when you're not supposed to test yourself because,
Mhm. I
like
know.
they say not to, I had 2 episodes of bleeding after a hard day at work. And one of them was like at 2 in the morning, and the other one was in the middle of my work day, and it like freaked me out. And it was like bleeding, bleeding. And I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe this. Cause I had done a urine pregnancy, and the urine pregnancy, well, I hadn't done the urine pregnancy yet, but I was nervous that something was going to
Mhm.
happen. So then one day at work, like a week later, before I think it was like 3 days before I was supposed to have the actual blood test done, I went to work and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna test myself. I stopped at the pharmacy, I went to the bathroom at work, and I tested myself, and it said positive. And I couldn't believe it. I was like, what? I can't believe this. And
Oh,
I called my husband. He's like, what? So we went for the testing, and yeah, my numbers just kept going up and up and up. And
good.
I was pregnant, and I had the baby, and I had my daughter Layla via C-section October 15th of 2018.
Okay. Well,
Our miracle.
congratulations, Layla. So, can
Yes.
I ask, was the bleeding, was it like a subchorionic hematoma?
It was
Uh,
a subchorionic
yeah.
hemorrhage that I had. So, they had us on aspirin because that's what you take whenever you
Mhm.
have it. So he's like, stop the aspirin, don't take anything, just rest, try not to do anything strenuous. And I'm like, okay. So eventually that ended up, dissipating with every ultrasound that I
Yep.
had. My OB at that time was great. He had just split from his partner and starting his own practice. So
Okay.
he was very involved with me, and I went in all the time for an ultrasound, and I filmed everything, and it was great. So the whole pregnancy part, I had a great experience. And she was born C-section, like I said, in October. So we waited a year, and I'm like, okay, well, let's start trying again. So I called the doctor again in Chicago. I'm like, I'm ready to try, because I think I had 2 more embryos with him. So he's like, okay, come fly up and we'll do a medical clearance. So I went up to do a medical clearance, and he's looking at my ultrasound. He's like, listen, I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, but you have something called like a C-section niche. And I'm like, what? He's like, the way that your C-section was closed and repaired is not ideal, and there's a gap. So if the embryo implants there, you can have like placental rupture and
Mhm.
die. So you have to get that surgically fixed before we move forward. I'm like, are you
Oh my
kidding me?
goodness.
So this was in like October, November of 2019. And so I remember being like, okay, well, who should do it? Like, what do I do? So I started like calling some friends down here, and I found a doctor down here that does it, a gynec surgeon. So I did it in January of 2020. I had the repair. It was like a robotic procedure. And so I had the C-section repaired. And then you have to wait like 6 to 8 weeks for everything to like heal before you can do everything again. And then COVID hit. So then I was just like, oh my God, like, what am I going to do? Like, I want to do this. And it was like a weird
Right.
time. So, in any way, in May of that year, things were like okay. And he goes, I can try. So I went up there, and he said everything was healed and we could try. So I did. I found a doctor down here that would still monitor me, even though it was COVID.
Hmm.
And I flew up to Chicago. I did another transfer. They would do my blood work, but I didn't end up getting pregnant.
Oh,
And
Janelle,
he didn't
sorry.
know why. Yeah, it sucked. And I was just like, okay, well, we'll try again. So I tried with like, it was one more embryo, and I didn't get pregnant. So then I had to do another IVF retrieval. And
Is this like number five retrievals at this point? Five, I think.
yeah,
Yep,
it's hard
five.
for me to know the timeline because I think in total I've had 11 or 12 IVF retrievals during this whole process
Wow,
of me trying to get pregnant
that's
from
a
like
lot.
2016 to now. So, I had another retrieval. Again, embryos are great, but I wouldn't get pregnant. So then he did an ultrasound after one of the failed ones. He's like, you know what it is? I think that you're having a lot of fluid buildup in a part of your uterus. We're going to go in and do a procedure where we have to ablate that area. And I'm like, okay, fine. I'll go and do another procedure. So I went in, they did like an ablation, just like burning the area where the fluid was accumulating. And then I healed from that, and I did another transfer, still didn't work. And I think at that point I had to get another retrieval because each time I was only getting like 9 eggs, and for like three would fertilize, three or four. But
And
when we
then,
would do the PGS testing, it would only be like two, maybe
yep.
three that were actually viable. So I would really go through that pretty quickly. So then when I did the other retrieval, he's like, this time we're going to try something different. We're going to put you on Lovenox. Maybe it's some sort of issue and your body's rejecting it. So we'll do the anticoagulation. So I did it, and I did like the Lovenox shocks every day. And, I would do
How were
everything.
you
And
feeling? I
oh
know
my
that
God,
sometimes, there's like a lot of nausea or pain that comes with those.
I mean, just the injections alone make you feel crappy. The
Mhm.
progesterone makes you. And so I had to inject myself with progesterone every day
Oh,
and do the
wow.
progesterone vaginally because they were just like maxing out on everything. And then I had like the estrogen patches. And then I had to inject myself. And then so I'm full of bruises. And it's a lot. and and so then I didn't get pregnant again. And I don't even know at this point how many retrievals it was. I had gone through everything but like one embryo I had from like the start of
Really?
Layla. Yeah, he had for
Okay.
some reason kept that one. And so we had talked about everything, and he's like, honestly, I don't know what's going on, but perhaps we should look into surrogacy. And it's kind of like one of those things like, boom, punched in the gut again, because that's not where I thought I was going. And it had been brought up earlier in
Mhm.
my whole process, but I wasn't ready for it. And I think at that point, I was like, well, you know what? We want a family. I want a sibling for Layla. And if this is it, this is what I have to do. And I was more, oh, I guess, open to the idea at that point and more at peace with it. So I'm like, okay, if that's what we have to do, that's what we have to do. So he recommended Family Source Consultant. I think are also in Chicago.
Yep.
So, I reached out, I filled out everything. We talked to the counselor, and then, we set our profile. And I think we ended up matching fairly quickly, I believe, in I think it was in 2022 in September. We matched with someone from Ohio, and we met her, and she had been a surrogate before, and she seemed really nice. She had her own kid, she was done. And so we went through like the whole process. We both agreed. And then, you go through the whole lawyer thing, which is then weird because you're like negotiating for like a baby. So
No, I
it's like,
always
it's
say
like a
the
whole,
contracts, one, it's like 55 to 65 pages long, and you're like, where does
right.
this all come from?
And,
I'm
and
like, this
it's
is the longest part. It feels like it's never gonna end once you get there.
right. And then it's another weird feeling because you're like, oh, 2,500 when you get a heartbeat. You get an X-ray 3,000 when you get here. And so you start thinking like, wow, I'm just like negotiating for my baby, and
Mhm.
so it's so many feelings that you, I guess, are new, right? You had no idea and you just want to get there. So anyway, she ended up getting transferred in December of 2022. And I remember getting the phone call, she wasn't pregnant. And I
Oh,
remember sitting in the parking lot of our grocery store down here, Publix, and just like sobbing hysterically.
oh,
And I was like, it's not going to happen. Like, I tried surrogacy. I mean, I was open to everything. It's just not going to happen. The universe is telling me it's not going to happen. That was our last embryo. I
mm,
had had like 10 IVF retrievals at that point. I'm like, I'm done. Like, I'm done. It's like, and and then someone told me about an egg donor. And I'm like, no, I don't, if it's not us, like, my line was surrogacy. Like, I
yeah.
was not going to do an egg donor, which is not bad.
No, no, no,
It's a
no.
personal decision. But for me, I didn't want that.
Yep.
And so my husband's like, we're not done. I'm like, no, we're done. He's like, one more time, Janelle. I'm like, I can't. He's like, one more time. You can do it. You can do it. We've done it. Come on, you can do it. And I'm
Yeah.
like, honestly, I don't want to. I don't want to go through the injections again. I don't want to do this disappointment again. He's like, Janelle, just do it one more time, please.
He was your
So
biggest cheerleader. He's
he
like, we'll
was.
do this together one more. And you're like, okay, take a breath. I mean, that's a lot. At least at this point, we look at the cup half full. You're a pro when it comes to these injections, right? So we got that
Yeah,
positive coming.
I know, but it's just like so
I
much.
know.
And, going every other day to the doctor, and then just like the
Hmm.
blood draws, the vaginal ultrasounds, the medications. And
Hmm.
so I met up with a doctor here in Miami that I knew,
Okay.
the same hospital that I work at. And he looked at everything. He's like, wow, you've had a lot of retrievals. He's like, I think this is one of the most that I've seen. I go, I know. He's like, you're older now, your AMH is even low. Like, we'll do what we can, but this is your Hail Mary. He's like, this is it,
Wow.
Janelle. This is your Hail Mary. I go, I know. I go, I thank you for trying. He's like, if you want to do it, we'll do it. And I go, thank you. Like, let's do it.
Good.
So we did the retrieval of February of 2023. I had 6 eggs,
Okay.
two fertilized, and when they did the PGS testing, only one was viable. So they were
We're
able
back
to
to one
freeze.
embryo.
We're back to one embryo.
Okay.
And so on this time, I had decided I wanted a different surrogate. I just wanted a clean slate. So
Hmm.
we had adjusted the profile and, submitted it again. But we had originally said we wanted someone in Florida because we're like, oh, we want someone local. It's just going to be easier for us if we have to drive. But we didn't get anything. Nothing. And so after a couple months, I reached out. They're like, well, maybe if you want to expand your profile, you'll have a better chance. So we did. And then they're like, oh, someone's interested. But when I reviewed it, there were things that I didn't
Didn't
like. So
feel
I'm
it.
like, yeah, I was like, no, I'd rather not. Let's keep looking. And so I forgot, maybe that summer of 2020, what was that, 23?
Yes.
Yes. They're like, we have another profile. I'm like, okay. And I reviewed it, liked it. She had kids, she was done. She was from St. Louis, Missouri. I'm like, no, I'm interested. I'm interested in meeting her. And so we set up the Zoom and, we start talking, and she's with her husband and I'm with my husband. And, I start crying and telling her my story. And she's like, I've always wanted to be a surrogate, and, we're done having kids. So my husband was like, okay, if this is what you want, like, go forward. So that's why I want to do it. And I was like, okay. Um, so we ended up both accepting and we moved forward with the contract. And she was great. She flew down to Miami to get the medical clearance with my doctor.
Did you
We
meet
were
her then at the medical screening?
I didn't
No.
meet at the medical screening.
Okay.
No, we would talk. The only time we physically saw each other was that initial Zoom meeting, and
Hmm.
then we exchanged numbers and we would text and so forth. And then, they waited for her period and everything. And so in January of 2024, she came down, the beginning, I believe, she came down for her transfer. And I said, "Do you mind if I go?" And she goes, "No, you can go." So I remember going. She had flown down with her mom. So I
Okay.
remember going to the waiting room and I see her mom, and her mom gives me this huge hug. And I was like, "Oh my," I'm like, "Thank you, thank you for supporting her and thank you for being here." And so I went into the room with her, and she held my hand, and
Oh,
they do the transfer, and they're like, "Oh, look, there's your baby, everything's okay." And I'm like, "Okay, let's wait and see." And she goes, "I have a good feeling, don't worry about it, this will be good." And
oh,
she's like
I love that.
very, very stoic, like she's just
Okay.
very positive person. And so I go, "Okay." And so they stayed a couple of days in Miami, and they were just like hanging out, and they came back, and like a week later, you're supposed to wait 2 weeks for the HCG test.
Mm-hmm.
And a week later, my husband and I were at Layla's tennis practice, and she texted me. She's like, "Do you want me to take a urine test?" And I was like,
So
"Oh my
nervous,
God." I was like, "I don't know. Do I kind of just want to be hopeful for another week.
right?
I don't want to
Right.
be crushed again." And my husband's like, "Just tell her to do it. Do it." And she's like, "Okay, let me put my baby to bed." And because she had like a 1.5-year-old at
Oh,
that.
wow. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, she had just stopped breastfeeding when she started the whole process with me.
Oh,
And so I was like, "Okay." And so she took the test and she sent me the picture, and it said positive.
oh, I can't. How did that feel? I love that your husband's so positive. He's like, one more round. We got this. Let her take the test. And now you see this positive, right?
I mean,
How
I
did
was
that feel?
hysterical. I'm like at her tennis practice sobbing hysterically. I'm
Oh,
like, "Is
Janelle.
this gonna happen? Is this really gonna happen? Like, are we really gonna have another baby?" And every time I think about it, I'm just like, "Oh my God."
Yeah,
And so I was like, "Okay." She goes, "I told you, don't worry, everything will be fine." And then
love
she
that.
gets her first HCG test, and it's 42, which is low.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, "Oh, we're here again. It's not going to happen." She's like, "It's okay. Don't worry. They said it was fine. It was a frozen transfer. That's completely normal." But yeah, she was right. Everything just kept progressing and progressing, and her numbers would double, and she was fine. And I was always like cautiously optimistic,
I was gonna say
because of everything that happened, always waiting for the other shoe to
yeah.
drop, right? And then as things, 4 or 5 months, 4 months, and then I'm like, how do I tell Layla, like, you're gonna have a sibling, but
Oh,
mommy's not pregnant? So, we started telling her like, mom and dad are gonna have, you're gonna have a sister, because we knew the embryo was female. And she's like, "What?" She goes, "Mommy couldn't carry the baby, so someone else is carrying it for her and growing the baby, but
oh,
it's gonna be your sister." And I didn't know if she understood or not what was going on, but she was what, 5 at the time. And but her preschool teacher came up to me one time, and she goes, at drop off, and she goes, "Are you pregnant?" And I go, "No." And she goes, "Because Layla says she's gonna have a sister, but someone else is carrying the baby." And I go, "Oh, yes."
everything
So
preschool teachers know. She's just out here spilling your business.
but we have a surrogate. She goes, "Oh, that makes sense because I didn't see your belly growing." I was like, "Okay, well, at least she kind of gets it if she's talking about it, right?" So, I decided for the anatomy scan that I wanted to go up, and I wanted to go up with Layla, so Layla could see her. So I went with her to St. Louis, and she has 3 boys, and Layla was like playing with them. We hung out with them at their house. We went to the anatomy scan. I'm like, "Layla, look, that's your sister," and she was kicking, and she was able to see everything. So I just wanted her to start clicking things together, and
Yeah.
she had a great time. And that was like a great visit because I was able to, like, be with her and her husband and her family, and we hung out, and it was nice. And because she was always like, "Whenever you want to come, whatever visit you want to come, just let me know. You're always welcome." She had printed out a sheet of all her visits. She would print
Oh,
out a sheet of like every trip that she'd have to take with her family to make sure I was aware of everything. Like, she was like really good about
that's
that. And
wonderful.
we were really good about communicating. I'm like, "Do you need anything?" Or, I would text her, "How you feeling?" or call her and all that stuff. So as time was approaching for the delivery, we had the birth plan, and she goes, well, I've always had everyone vaginally at 39 weeks. I never make it to 40 weeks. And I go, okay, well, that's good to know, because it's weird, right? Like, we're trying to plan our lives for Miami and being like, hopefully we can get there.
Yeah.
And so we decided, we went up like, she was going to get induced. Let's say it was a Friday. Layla was born the 24th, the 22nd, so the 19th. And so we decided to go up that Wednesday night. We flew up to St. Louis because she was going to go the next day to the hospital to get induced. But I guess there was like a full moon, so the hospital called her and said,
Yep.
it's full.
Too busy.
You can't come in, and we'll let you know. And I'm like, okay, it's fine.
Right.
So like, I'm like, well, let's go do something. So we went to go hang out with her and her husband, and that was nice for me because Gabe had not really met them before, only on that Zoom. He had never physically had time
Okay.
with them or anything of that nature. So that was nice that we got to hang out. So that was like Thursday. We hung out. Went to lunch, then went to dinner. Hospital's like, no, not yet. She goes, I'll call them again Friday morning. Friday morning, they're like, no, we're too full. So again, I'm like, okay, no big deal. We hung out with them on Friday, just did different things around St. Louis with them. And then Saturday morning again, they were too full. So again, we hung out with them. And when we met with her that afternoon, she's like, I don't know, but even if the hospital doesn't call me tonight, I'm telling you, Janelle, this baby is coming
Oh, she
soon.
could feel it. She
She's
just
like, I am uncomfortable. I think at this point she was
uh-huh.
40 weeks. She was approaching 40 weeks. And so she was like, it's coming. So just have your phone ready. And I was like, okay. She's like, I just feel it. I have a lot of GERD, the pain, the pressure. And I'm like, okay. So I remember they left. Gabe and I stayed for a little bit. And then it was like 9 o'clock. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna go to bed. And Gabe stayed up watching a movie. He went to sleep at 12:30. 1 o'clock in the morning, she calls me. She goes, it's happening. We're going to the hospital right now. I'm like, I'm like, Gabe, wake up. And he's like, I just fell asleep. I'm like, I didn't tell you to stay up to watch the movie. Just get up. We're getting our stuff together. We drive to the hospital. We get there. Um, she's walking around. Her water had not broken yet, but she was
Okay.
dilated. So we're walking with her. She's getting the ice chips, and around 3 a.m. they're like, well, your water's not broken now, but we can break it to progress everything. She goes, I know my body. If you're gonna break my water, give me an epidural, because it's gonna go from 0 to 100, and I'm gonna have this baby right away. And so they did the epidural. They broke her water. And like at 5:45, they're like, that's it, she's coming. So I'm like, Gabe's at the head of the bed, 'cause she's like,
Uh-huh.
I don't care if he's here, but stay over there.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm there. She goes, I don't care if
Mhm.
you watch. And the doctor's like, who's gonna take the baby? I'm like, I'm gonna take the baby. So you do the skin to skin. So I had my
Mhm.
sports bra on. And like at 6 o'clock, she starts pushing. I'm not, no lie, like in 3 pushes, our baby comes out, and
Oh,
I see her, and I'm just like hysterical,
oh,
and I'm like,
no.
I can't believe this. I'm like, and I'm holding her, and I'm like, she looks exactly like Layla. Exactly like Layla.
Really?
Yes. And I couldn't believe it. And I'm just holding her, crying, saying, thank you, Lauren. You'll never know. You'll never know what you did for us. Like, and she's like, I'm just happy to help.
Mm,
Literally, that's how she was. And I'm like, thank you so much. Like,
wonderful.
what do you say? Like, sure, it starts off as a business thing, but people don't have to do that. Wreak havoc on their body, carry someone else's baby, go through all those hormone and body changes. And so she was born, perfect little baby that looked exactly like her sister.
Oh.
And so then we went to the postpartum unit, and we were
Mhm.
across the hall from each other. So she would come, and I'd bring the baby
Yeah.
back and forth. And then I always I'd ask them, I'm like, do you guys do pictures in the hospital? Because like I brought little outfits for her. And so I'm like, oh, Lauren, they're gonna come do the pictures. And I included her in them, and she's like, I didn't know you wanted. I'm like, of course, like you would not be, like she would not be here if you weren't a part of our lives. So I included her in like the pictures and holding her and all of that. And so we ended up staying a couple more days. Obviously we had to wait for the baby to be like 4 days old in order to fly home. And then I wonder, I'm like, how does this feel for her? Like having this baby and like kicking and feeling all this and then kind of just, I don't know, then nothing, and
You get to
and she
relax a little bit.
right, she's like,
Yeah.
no, I'm good. And she's like, I'm gonna stay in the hospital another day, so I don't have the
There
three
you
boys
go.
bothering
I'm
me.
good. I'm gonna relax.
So then, we left and, we went back to Miami. Layla met her baby sister, and it was the most beautiful thing in the world to see her hold her sister. And in this, past 13 months, I mean, Alana loves her so much. Like they have such a cute connection together. And every time they do something cute, my husband and I look at each other and I'm always like, thank you. Thank you for pushing me. And I always tell Lauren, we still talk to this day. We talk all the time.
Love it.
Alana had her baptism. We did her baptism birthday in September, and I invited their whole family, and they came down and they hung out with us, and they were here for that. So that was really special to see that too. And I don't know I don't know if it's too much or not, but I'm always telling her, I'm like, you just don't know. You don't know what you mean to us and what you will forever mean to us and what this whole process means to us, because without it, we wouldn't have Alana. We wouldn't be a family of four. And, that's why when so many people talk so negatively about it, I feel like they just don't know. They don't know the beauty of surrogacy. They don't know. Um, I know they're getting paid and it starts off like that, but it really is a beautiful process, what they do for someone else, the thoughtlessness that comes with it and everything. And
Family.
a
That's
family.
are creative, right? That's all, and I always say this, by the time we have intended parents get to us, they've been through so much. I mean, Janelle, you were on 11 retrievals at this point to help your family grow, right? And I'm a firm believer in everybody who wants a family deserves that family. And so I'm so glad that she was able to do this for you and that you're advocating for this, right? Because it is true. I mean, it is an absolute beautiful thing.
It really is.
And look at your relationship.
It really is. Yeah, no, I mean, she's great. Her and her husband are great. Her kids are great. And it's someone that, like I would always have her at my house. I'm like, we'll plan a time next year when you can come
Hmm.
back and vacation, because like she is a part of us. She will always be welcomed in our house. And even when she was here, my friends, my family, everyone was going up to her, hugging her, or, some were crying and saying, thank you so much, because Alana is such a light in our lives, like our second miracle. And without her, we wouldn't have had that. We wouldn't have been able to experience the joy, that she brings us.
And Layla is probably the best big sister.
Oh my gosh, she's so sweet with her. She plays with her, and Alana just looks at her. No, Alana
There you
just
are.
looks at her and starts laughing and is so happy whenever she sees her. So
Oh,
it's really a beautiful thing. It really is.
that's I love that so much, and I can't thank you enough, for sharing your story. And I know that so many people maybe have a similar story or they're just starting the process. Can I ask, like, if you were talking to intended parents, women who are thinking about moving forward with surrogacy to help build or grow their families, is there anything specific that you would say?
Um, it's a really trust the process. It's a
Mhm.
really, especially as a type A personality, really trying to let go, because you
Yeah.
can't control everything in this process. You can do as much as you can, but ultimately someone else is holding your baby. And just make sure to trust your gut, to have that connection with that person, because if you don't force it. This is a very important thing. And there you will find someone
Hmm.
else. That is what I've learned.
Oh, yeah.
Especially with your company, that they will help you and they will find you someone that you match with, that you vibe with. And that's number one thing. Make sure that you get a good feeling with that person, because if you don't move forward. Don't push it just because you feel like you want your family now. You always look back and be like, things happen for a reason. You don't see it.
Hmm.
You don't see it in that moment, but they happen for a reason. I am so glad that she was my surrogate, and I am so glad that I ended up with her and the process with her. And so, it's a really trust the process. and
Hmm.
trust your gut. And if there's red flags, for whatever reason, look at those red flags. But it's it's difficult because you feel like you want to have the pregnancy, but at the same time, at the end, you have your baby. And then when you have your baby, it's still your baby, and you hold them, and you love them. And she's my daughter. I even forget, like, I didn't have her,
Hmm.
that I didn't, was pregnant with her. Like, it's not, you feel like it's going to be an issue at first, but
Yeah.
it's not, it's really not. You don't even remember it anymore because they're just a part of you, no matter
And
what.
Lauren sounds like she's a pretty close part of your lives. You still have a good relationship with her.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they ask you in the beginning, like, how involved do you want to be? I'm
Hmm.
like, like, I'm willing to talk to you all the time if you want. And she goes, no, no, me too. And so I still just call her just to say hi. Hey, how are you
Uh-huh.
doing? How are the kids? Everything. Like, always send her pictures. And like I said, she will always be a part of our lives, and, always welcomes. And she's a very special person to us, a very special person.
I love that. I can't thank you enough, Janelle, for sharing your story. I know that a lot of potential intended parents and even surrogates will benefit from hearing this side, right? And oh my gosh, thank you. And I'm so glad that Alana was able to come in and complete your little family, and it's just such a little ray of sunshine.
She is. We're so happy. We went to the beach this past weekend, and since she's been walking since 10 months. It was the first time
Oh.
that she was, like, digging in the sand and playing,
Uh-huh.
and we were literally just watching her and Layla, like, play together and build little sand castles. And I got teary-eyed because I'm like, this is what we wanted. And
And
this is what we got. Thanks to everything. Thanks to you guys. Thanks to Lauren. Thanks to the whole process.
well, and thank you and congratulations. I love your little family of four. You guys are the best, and
Oh.
that's amazing. We're excited to keep watching her grow.
Yes. Well, thank you guys. And, I'm pretty much an open book. So, I know that it's a scary and weird process for a lot of
Mhm.
people, but, I'm willing to talk and help people, or, even just listen, because it's a lot. And people, I feel like, don't know. And there's all this negative connotation, and I wish that would just go away. But
I
little
agree.
by little, it will.
I think so too. I think so too. I've been doing it for almost 10 years, and you can see that it's becoming, more open and more positive, and I love it, and I'm excited to see where it continues to go, right? And how many more babies will be born.
Right. Yeah. Well, thank you guys so much. And thank you for having me.
Thank you, Janelle. I appreciate you.
Thanks.
Wonderful. Have a good day.
Thanks. You too.
Thank you. Bye. Oh,
Bye.
here comes Carl.